Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine the Bible as you know it. Genesis, Exodus, the Psalms. Stories told 1,000 times, verses memorized in childhood. Now imagine there are chapters missing. Not lost, not destroyed, but deliberately set aside. Hidden in the margins of history, preserved in ancient libraries, whispered in mystical circles, encoded in fragments that mainstream theology chose to forget. For most readers of the Bible, the story of Abraham feels familiar. A man called out of Ur of the Chaldeans, a covenant sealed under stars, a promise of descendants as numerous as the heavens. Genesis 12, Genesis 15, Genesis 17. We know these chapters. We've heard sermons about them. We've seen them illustrated in Sunday school. But hidden between the verses of Genesis, concealed beneath the canonical narrative, there exists another story. A story that did not survive into the modern Bible. A story that early Jewish communities read with trembling hands. A story filled with cosmic fire, warring angels, divine judgment, and a vision of the end of history so vivid, so terrifying, that generations of theologians wondered if humanity was ready to hear it. This text is known as the Apocalypse of Abraham. Written sometime between 70 and 150 CE, in the aftermath of the temple's destruction, this book expands Genesis chapter 15, the moment when God seals his covenant with Abraham. But instead of stars and silence, instead of smoking firepots and mystical sleep, Abraham is taken beyond the sky itself, into the machinery of the universe, into the council chambers of heaven, into the war between angels and corruption, into a cosmic courtroom where the fate of humanity is weighed. He sees things no mortal should see. He hears things the prophets only glimpsed. He stands where even angels fear to look. Tonight, we're going to open a book that dared to look too far. A book that asks, what if Genesis only told you half the story? What if Abraham's covenant was not signed peacefully, but contested by forces that still haunt our world? What if the universe is not neutral, but watching? This is the Apocalypse of Abraham, and it will change the way you read Genesis forever. Let's begin. Before Abraham was a patriarch, before he heard the voice of God, before he became the father of nations, he was the son of an idol maker. The Apocalypse of Abraham begins not with covenant, but with rebellion, not with blessing, but with destruction, not in the heavens, but in a workshop filled with lies. Terah, Abraham's father, fashions idols from wood and stone. In the ancient world, this was not a small business. This was survival. This was power. People came to Terah desperate for protection from enemies, rain for their crops, victory in battle, meaning in chaos. And Terah gave them gods. Small gods, silent gods, gods you could carry, gods you could control. But Abraham sees something no one else notices. One day, while his father is away, Abraham is left to tend the workshop. He watches the idols. One, carved from precious wood, falls into the fire and burns. Another, made of fine stone, is devoured by mice overnight. The fragments scatter across the floor like dust. A third idol collapses under its own weight. No earthquake, no wind, just collapse. And Abraham begins to ask dangerous questions, questions no one is supposed to ask. How can a God that must be carried save the one who carries it? How can a God that burns protect anyone from fire? How can a God made today by human hands have existed before the world began? These are not academic questions. In the ancient world, to question the gods was to question the king's authority, the priest's power, the entire structure of society. Abraham is not just doubting carved wood, he is dismantling an entire worldview. When Terah returns, Abraham confronts him. "Father, which of these gods is the true God? The one made of oak or cedar? The one with the gold face or silver hands? You made them all. How can they be stronger than you?" Terah is enraged, but he cannot answer, because deep down, every idol maker knows the truth. The gods they sell are products, not powers. This is not a small detail in the apocalypse of Abraham. This is the foundation. The text portrays Abraham as a radical iconoclast, a man who rejects false authority before he receives divine authority. He doesn't just choose God over idols, he chooses truth over comfortable lies. And then judgment comes. A fire descends from heaven, not lightning, not accident, intentional, consuming, holy. Terah's house burns, the workshop is destroyed, the idols, those silent, powerless gods, are exposed as ash and splinters. Terah himself barely escapes, and Abraham stands in the ruins and understands. The real God does not tolerate pretenders. This sets the tone for the entire book. The Apocalypse of Abraham is not a gentle text. It is not a devotional whisper. It is a book about separation. True God versus false gods. Light versus corruption. Faith versus deception. Reality versus illusion. Only those willing to let the old world burn can see what comes next. And Abraham, standing in the ashes of his father's lies, is ready.
After the destruction, Abraham flees into the wilderness. He has no temple, no priest, no community of believers. He is alone. And then he hears a voice. Not thunder, not wind, not the crackling of fire or the whisper of leaves. A command. Clear, unmistakable, undeniable. Abraham. Not Abram. Not yet, but the voice knows him. Go out from your father, go out from the house of your birth. Come to the mountain I will show you. Abraham obeys, and on the mountain an angel appears. His name is Yahoel, and he is unlike any angel in Genesis. The Bible gives us brief glimpses of angels, the cherubim guarding Eden, the angels visiting Lot, the mysterious figures who wrestle and speak. But Yahoel is described with terrifying specificity. The text says, "His body shines like sapphire, his face radiates like the sun, his garments shimmer with fire, his voice carries the sound of many waters." But more than his appearance, it is his authority that shocks. Yahoel bears the divine name within himself, not just as a title, as essence. He is called the one whose name is like the name of God. This is staggering. In Jewish thought, the name of God, the Tetragrammaton, is so sacred it cannot be spoken. Yet here is an angel who embodies it. Yahoel is not merely a messenger. He is a cosmic priest, a guardian of sacred knowledge, a being who exists at the threshold between God and creation. His role is to teach Abraham the mysteries, to guard him during ascent, to interpret visions humans cannot process, to restrain forces that would destroy the unworthy. This is where the Apocalypse of Abraham introduces developed angelology. Angels are not decorative, they are not symbolic, they are not metaphors for good feelings. They are operational. They govern the movements of creation, maintain cosmic order, execute divine judgments, stand between humanity and chaos. Yahweh speaks to Abraham, "I am sent to strengthen you, to teach you hymns that restrain destructive forces, to prepare you for what you are about to see. For you will ascend, and without preparation you will not survive." This is shocking. Heaven itself is dangerous, not because God is cruel, but because holiness is fire. Purity burns impurity. Truth obliterates deception. Glory unmakes the unprepared. Yahweh teaches Abraham sacred hymns. These are not worship songs. They are words of power. Songs that bind hostile angels, create protective barriers, align the worshiper with divine frequencies, open gates that are otherwise sealed. Abraham learns these hymns, not by memorization, but by transformation. His voice begins to carry authority. His words begin to resonate with heaven. This is preparation for ascent. And Abraham, standing before an angel of living fire, begins to understand the universe is not empty, heaven is not silent, and what waits above is beyond anything he imagined.
Now we come to the moment that changes everything. If you open your Bible to Genesis 15, you'll read this. Then the Lord said to Abram, "Bring me a heifer, a goat, and a ram, each 3 years old, along with a dove and a young pigeon." Abram brought all these to him, cut them in two, and arranged the halves opposite each other. As the sun was setting, Abram fell into a deep sleep, and a thick and dreadful darkness came over him. When the sun had set and darkness had fallen, a smoking firepot with a blazing torch appeared and passed between the pieces. That's it. Genesis gives us the ritual, but not the reality. It tells us what Abram did, but not what Abram saw. The apocalypse of Abram fills the silence. Abram prepares the sacrifice under Yahweh's instruction. He cuts the animals precisely. He arranges them according to divine geometry. He waits. And then something goes wrong. A dark figure descends. He does not ask permission. He does not wait for invitation. He appears over the sacrifice like a shadow devouring light. His name is Azazel. Azazel is not Satan. He's worse. Satan, in later theology, is the accuser, the adversary who tests faith, but Azazel is the corrupter. In Jewish tradition, Azazel is the angel associated with the corruption of humanity before the flood, the teaching of forbidden knowledge to mankind, cosmic impurity and defilement, the scapegoat ritual in Leviticus 16. He is the angel who taught humans how to make weapons of war, how to create cosmetics and adornments that fuel vanity, how to practice sorcery and manipulation, how to twist creation against itself. He is pollution incarnate. And now he stands over Abram's covenant. Azazel speaks, "Why are you here, Abram? The sacrifice is meaningless. You belong to me. All flesh belongs to me. You were born in corruption. Your father served false gods. Your lineage is tainted. What makes you think you can approach the Holy One?" This is critical. Azazel is not lying. Abram was born in Ur. His father did serve idols. His lineage is not pure. By the logic of ritual purity, Azazel has a point. But then Yahweh intervenes.
the angel of fire steps between Abram and the accuser, and Yahweh speaks with authority. Azazel, disgrace of creation, you have no power over the righteous. Abram is purified not by lineage, but by choice. He has rejected your world. He has burned your altars. Go down to the depths assigned to you. Depart from this holy assembly. You are not fit to stand in the presence of the Eternal. Azazel recoils, but before he is cast down, he makes one final claim. This covenant will be contested. His descendants will suffer. The world I govern will rise against them. Abram may ascend today, but I will wait below. And then he is hurled downward, into the wilderness, into the realm of broken things, into the place reserved for those who corrupted creation. The sacrifice can now proceed, but the message is clear. Every covenant is born in conflict. God's promises are not signed peacefully in some neutral space. They are declared in the face of opposition. They are sealed while darkness screams. They are established despite accusation. Abram's covenant is not just a promise, it is a victory. And every person who stands in covenant with God stands on ground that was fought for.
After the sacrifice is accepted, after Azazel is cast down, after fire consumes the offering, Abraham is lifted. Not symbolically, not in a dream, not as poetic metaphor. He is taken upward. Yahweh extends his hand, and Abraham rises. Past the altar, past the mountain, past the clouds. The earth grows small beneath him. He sees the curve of the horizon, the oceans like silver mirrors, the mountains like grains of sand. He passes through the first heaven. Here, the air is different. It shimmers with invisible forces. Wind becomes intelligent. Breath becomes prayer. He sees the chambers where weather is stored, rain waiting to fall, snow held in reserve, lightning restrained until its appointed time. He passes through the second heaven. Here, the stars are not distant lights. They are living beings, angelic governors, markers of divine order. Each constellation has a name. Each star has a purpose. Nothing in the heavens is random. He passes through the third heaven. Here, he sees the mechanics of time itself, the sun in its house, the moon in its cycles, the ordering of days and seasons. Abraham realizes time is not neutral. It is governed, measured, intentional. He passes through the fourth heaven. Here are the angels of creation, those who govern the growth of plants, those who watch over animal life, those who maintain the rhythms of birth and death. Creation is not automatic, it is sustained. He passes through the fifth heaven. Here are the angels of judgment, those who record human deeds, those who weigh righteousness and wickedness, those who prepare the scales of justice. Abraham sees books being written, every word, every action, every hidden thought. Nothing is forgotten. He passes through the sixth heaven. Here are the warrior angels, beings of terrible beauty, armed not with swords, but with authority, standing ready to execute divine decrees. They do not speak, they wait, and Abraham trembles. Finally, he reaches the seventh heaven. Here, there is no distance, no direction, no up or down, only presence. Abraham sees a throne, not made of gold or precious stones, made of light, surrounded by fire, encircled by voices that never stop singing. Creatures with too many wings, beings made of eyes, angels whose very existence is worship. And beyond them all,
a presence that cannot be looked upon, cannot be described, cannot be contained by words. God does not appear as a man. God does not appear as anything. God is. Abraham falls, not prostrate in worship. He falls because his body cannot support the weight of what he is experiencing. Every human instinct screams at him to flee, but Yahweh steadies him. Do not fear, Abraham. You are chosen to see. You are called to witness. Now, look upon what I will show you. And from the throne, the visions begin.
From before the throne of the Eternal, Abraham is shown human history. Not just Israel's history, not just the story of his descendants, all of it. The entire arc of humanity from beginning to end. It unfolds before him like a scroll that has no edges. He sees the creation, light separating from darkness, waters divided above and below, the earth taking form, life emerging in perfect order. He sees the corruption, the first sin, violence spreading, angels teaching forbidden things, humanity turning away from its design. He sees the flood, waters rising, the righteous entering the ark, judgment falling on the corrupted world, a reset that was supposed to change everything. But then, the same patterns return. Humanity rebuilds, but also repeats. Abraham sees his own descendants, generations who will walk in covenant, generations who will abandon it, suffering and glory intertwined. He sees the Exodus, his people enslaved in Egypt, Moses confronting Pharaoh, the Red Sea splitting, the mountain of God trembling with fire. He sees the promised land, conquest and settlement, judges and kings, the temple rising in Jerusalem, glory filling the sacred space. But then he sees destruction, the temple burning, Jerusalem in ruins, his descendants scattered like seeds in a storm. This is not distant prophecy. For the original readers of the Apocalypse of Abraham, living after 70 CE, after Rome destroyed the Second Temple, this was living memory, fresh trauma. The book is processing a question that haunted every Jewish community. Why did God allow this? Abraham sees empires rise, Babylon, Persia, Greece, Rome, each one more arrogant than the last, each one crushing the faithful. He sees the righteous suffering while the wicked prosper. He sees the innocent murdered, the corrupt rewarded, lies celebrated as truth, justice delayed year after year after year. And Abraham, standing before the throne, asks the question every human asks: why do the wicked succeed? Why is judgment delayed? Why does evil seem to win? God's answer is chilling. Not dismissive, not evasive, chilling. Abraham, beloved, judgment is not absent, it is patient. Every act of wickedness is recorded. Every moment of injustice accumulates. Every lie carries weight in the scales. The delay is not indifference, it is mercy. Because when judgment comes, it will be complete, irreversible, final. The righteous will be vindicated. The wicked will face the full measure of their deeds. And every question you now ask will be answered. The Apocalypse of Abraham teaches cosmic accountability. The universe is not random. History is not chaos. Evil does not go unnoticed. Every action is recorded in the books of heaven. Every injustice adds to the scales. Every moment of faithfulness is remembered. The world is not indifferent. It is patient.
Abraham sees the end of days, a time of great tribulation, a time when evil will seem to triumph completely, a time when the faithful will cry out for deliverance. But then, the final intervention, not subtle, not gradual, sudden, complete, unmistakable. The heavens open, the books are opened, every hidden thing is revealed. Abraham sees the wicked separated from the righteous, corruption purged from creation, the world remade in justice, the covenant finally, fully realized. This is not just the good guys win, this is restoration. Everything broken, healed. Everything corrupted, purified. Everything delayed, fulfilled. And Abraham, overwhelmed, falls silent. Because what can you say when you've seen the end of history?
One of the most radical ideas in the Apocalypse of Abraham appears here, and it's often overlooked. After showing Abraham the sweep of history, after revealing judgment and restoration, God shows him something else. Two paths. Not fate, not predestination, not a script that humans must follow. Choice. Abraham sees humanity divided. On one side, those who choose righteousness. On the other, those who choose corruption. But here's the key. The division is not predetermined. Angels do not force obedience. Demons do not force corruption. Humans choose. Yes, there are influences. Azathiel and his forces whisper corruption. Yehoel and the holy angels call toward righteousness. But the final decision belongs to the individual. This is critical. The Apocalypse of Abraham rejects fatalism. You are not a puppet. Your choices matter. Your actions have cosmic weight. This is why judgment is justified. This is why repentance has power. This is why Abraham's covenant matters in the first place. If humans were predetermined, covenants would be meaningless. But because humans choose, covenants are invitations, promises that say, this is the path, walk in it, and you will live. Abraham sees both the righteous and the wicked in his vision. And here's what's shocking. Many of the wicked were offered the same choice as the righteous. They heard the same call. They saw the same signs. They were given the same opportunities, but they chose differently. Not because they were created evil, but because they valued immediate pleasure over long-term wisdom, power over service, self-interest over covenant. The text insists, evil exists, corruption is real, Azaziel operates in this world. But none of these forces are sovereign. God is sovereign, and within that sovereignty, humanity is given the terrifying gift of choice. Abraham asks, then why do you allow Azaziel to remain? Why not destroy him now? And God answers, because creation is not yet complete. The testing is not yet finished. The full number of the righteous has not yet been gathered. Azaziel's time is limited. His influence is permitted for now, but not forever. This is the cosmic tension. The world is contested. Heaven and corruption are at war, and humanity stands in the middle. Every human life is a battlefield, not because God and evil are equal opponents, but because God values freedom, and freedom requires real choice, real consequences, real responsibility. Abraham descends from heaven with this knowledge. Your choices shape eternity. Not just your eternity. The choices of the righteous strengthen creation. The choices of the wicked accumulate judgment. Nothing is neutral. Everything matters. So we come to the inevitable question. If the Apocalypse of Abraham is so powerful, if it expands Genesis with such vivid detail, if it addresses questions that still haunt believers today, why isn't it in your Bible? The answer is complicated, but it comes down to this. It was too specific, too detailed, too dangerous. Let's break this down. Reason 1. Angelology became too developed. Early Christianity and Judaism both had to navigate a delicate balance. Angels are real, angels have roles, but angels cannot become the focus. The Apocalypse of Abraham gives angels names, personalities, specific functions, powers that border on divine attributes. Yahoel especially became problematic. An angel who bears the divine name, who has authority to cast down Azazel, who teaches sacred hymns, this begins to blur the line between angel and deity. And as monotheism became more strictly defined, texts that gave angels too much prominence were set aside. Reason 2, Azazel was too vivid. Early theological debates struggled with the nature of evil. Is evil a force, a being, a corruption of good? The Apocalypse of Abraham presents Azazel as a specific fallen angel with ongoing influence, who contests God's covenant, who has assigned domains. This is theologically complex. It raises questions. Does Azazel have independent power? If God permits him, does that make God complicit? How do we reconcile cosmic evil with divine sovereignty? Mainstream theology preferred simpler frameworks. Reason 3, the visionary material was too detailed. Genesis 15 is mysterious on purpose. It gives symbols, cut animals, deep sleep, smoking firepot, but it doesn't explain them fully. The Apocalypse of Abraham removes the mystery. It shows the mechanics, it names the forces, it maps the heavens. And for many theologians, mystery is essential to faith. Too much detail can replace awe with formula, turn theology into magic, make the divine seem controllable. Reason 4, it raised uncomfortable questions. The book forces readers to confront, why does God permit evil to continue? Why is judgment delayed? Why do the righteous suffer while the wicked prosper? And while the Apocalypse of Abraham offers answers, they're not comfortable answers. God is patient, doesn't satisfy someone losing a child. Judgment is coming, doesn't comfort someone oppressed today. The canonical texts preserved mystery. The Apocalypse of Abraham demanded answers, and sometimes the questions are dangerous than the silence. Reason 5, historical trauma. The book was written after the destruction of the Second Temple. It processes grief, rage, confusion. It asks, why did Rome succeed? Why was the temple burned? Why are we scattered? These are painful questions. And as centuries passed, as Judaism and Christianity developed in different directions, texts that were too tied to specific historical moments were gradually set aside, not because they were false, but because they were too raw. So the Apocalypse of Abraham was not included in the Jewish canon, not included in the Christian canon, preserved mostly in Slavonic translations, studied by mystics and scholars, but kept at the margins. Yet fragments survived. In Jewish mysticism, the Kabbalah draws on similar cosmology. In early Christian thought, the Book of Enoch shares angelology. In liturgy, echoes of the sacred hymns remain. The ideas didn't die, they went underground.
So what do we do with the Apocalypse of Abraham? Do we dismiss it as pseudepigrapha? Do we treat it as a curiosity? Do we read it and forget it, Or do we let it challenge us? Because whether or not this book belongs in your Bible, it carries a message that still resonates. The Apocalypse of Abraham leaves us with a warning. Faith is not passive. Abraham didn't just believe, he questioned, he rejected false gods, he let the old world burn. Covenants are contested. Every promise of God is opposed by forces that hate righteousness. Standing in covenant means standing in conflict. The universe is watching. Your choices are recorded. Your actions have weight. Nothing is neutral. Behind every promise, there is a war you do not see. Angels and corruption, light and shadow, truth and deception. And Abraham was not chosen because he was perfect. He was chosen because he was willing. Willing to leave, willing to burn idols, willing to ascend, willing to see. Between heaven and earth, between obedience and rebellion, between Yahuel and Azazel, humanity still stands. You are not a bystander. You are a participant in a cosmic drama. Every day you choose. Which voice will you listen to? Which path will you walk? Which covenant will you honor? The Apocalypse of Abraham reminds us the delay of judgment is not the absence of justice. Everything is being recorded. Everything will be revealed. Everything will be answered. And when the books are opened, the righteous will be vindicated, the wicked will face truth, and creation will be restored. So what do we take from this ancient, hidden text? We take the reminder that Genesis has depths we haven't explored, that angels are real and active, that evil is real but not sovereign, that our choices echo in eternity. We take the challenge to question false gods, even the modern ones, to reject comfortable lies, to seek truth even when it burns. We take the hope that justice is coming, that the covenant is real, that God has not forgotten. The Apocalypse of Abraham was hidden, but not destroyed, set aside, but not erased. And perhaps it survived for moments like this, when we need to be reminded the story is bigger than we thought, the stakes are higher than we imagined, and the invitation still stands to ascend, to see, to choose.
Some books were removed from the Bible, not because they were false, but because they revealed too much. The Apocalypse of Abraham is one of them. And now, you've seen what they didn't want everyone to see. The question is, what will you do with it?